Hey everybody, this is Willbits. Yeah, we're doing this right. Ace Attorney, Phoenix Wright, Dual Destinies. We're doing the trial. This is it. I did a little research. I looked into those special Cyclocks you mentioned, Mr. Nick. I've never heard of black ones before. You did? Oh, that's great! I really appreciate it. A red Cyclock protects a secret a person is consciously trying to hide. If the person folds under questioning, the lock breaks and the truth comes out. Yep, that's exactly how I got the truth out of Detective Fulbright and Director Cosmos. And, you know, that guy down at the grocery store who was really just concealing how long his meat had been out. But a black Cyclock protects a secret from the deepest place in a person's heart. A secret that person isn't even consciously aware of. So, even they don't know it's there? Athena isn't trying to keep anything from you on purpose. For some reason, part of her heart and her memories are sealed off. Even from herself. Okay, so all I have to do is break the Cyclocks. According to my research, a black Cyclock is like a heavy chain wrapped directly around one's heart. These chains, though formed in life, are they Jacob Marley? Just like quote some Dickens on here. If they're ripped off by force, it could cause permanent damage to a person's soul. Am I hiding a secret? Not that I know of, which doesn't mean that I don't have deep, dark, black Cyclocks deep around my heart. Don't rip them off forcibly. You'll hurt my soul. I heard that somewhere. In other words, if I'm not careful, I could traumatize Athena. For good. She could have the PTSD for the rest of the time. Okay, Pearls, could you stay by Athena's side? She must be suffering under the weight of such a heavy burden. Alright, but will you be alright by yourself, Mr. Nick? I'm up against Edgeworth. I have to be able to give this trial all of my focus and strength, so I don't want anybody coming in on the side and making smarmy comments. That's right, Pearl, you should feel bad. And you can't do that if I'm there. I'll just hold you back. No, that's not it. I just meant I can relax and concentrate if I knew you were with Athena. You're the only one who can do it, Pearls. Alright. I'll do it then. Good luck, Mr. Nick. Good. Now that my mind is at ease, I'd better get ready. I'll just tidy up the evidence and take out what I don't need. It's time to end this nightmare that started 7 years ago. How do you know what you don't need? How do you know? You don't have magical garments to throw false evidence into. How are you supposed to know? There's no way. There's no way of knowing. Defense, prosecution, and judge. There are even people in the gallery. The roof has been completely blown off, and the walls have collapsed. Oh yeah, we're in the crazy broken courtroom today. This is going to be so epic. But today, this ruin is my battleground. Whoa, first up on the stand, we got Clonko! All rise, all rise.
Court, or some facsimile thereof, is now in session for the trial of Athena Sykes. Why aren't I working in any of the courtrooms that were occupied? Well, I just happened to be permanently assigned to you somehow.
Hold it!
Not a facsimile, old man. This is a proper official trial. Take this more seriously, or you'll start hearing the bones of the hostages snap.
You crazy! Please try not to upset Miss Blackwell. I'm begging you.
Blanco.
Court is now in session for the very serious and very proper trial of Athena Sykes.
This is no trial. It's nothing more than a ridiculous farce.
What did you say?
Edgeworth! Did you not hear what I just said to His Honor? However, this ridiculous farce has a very important meaning for our legal system. Recall the case of the UR1 incident in which a prosecutor was found guilty of murder. That case ushered in the odious, dark age of the law.
I see what you're after. If we can find the real truth behind that case today.
Precisely. The darkness will be dispelled, and glory will be restored to the court system. Falderall, Faldery.
Prosecutor Edgeworth, you sound as if you know something of this truth. Is it different from this the falsity of life that I've been living?
I do indeed. A new suspect has emerged in the UR1 case. For 7 years, Simon Blackwell has refused to speak in order to cover for someone else. Brace yourself, Phoenix. Here it comes. I'm sorry, Wright, but the situation is what it is, and I must do what I must. The prosecution moves to indict Athena Sykes on the count of murder in the first degree. Athena, you didn't do this. Not on purpose. Probably. We get in a cutscene. Oh, this is so drafty.
Regardless of the circumstance, I intend to question the defendant with all I have. For that is a part of my creed.
Then you better bring it.
Oh!
If the two of you are ready.
That'll be quite enough. There'll be no
Court is
chilliness.
now in session for the trial of Athena Sykes.
Your Honor, the defense was born ready.
The prosecution is also ready.
Right into the camera. This immense tension between us. It's like we're picking up right where we left off. It's just, there's something magnetic. There's something about him. I'm just drawn to... No, sorry! It's my duty to clear Prosecutor Blackwell of false accusations and end this insanity. But I have no intention of losing Miss Sykes either. She's a very promising young lawyer. I know without a doubt that Athena is innocent. But I don't think Prosecutor Blackwell did it either. So, do you have any clue who was responsible for the sabotage? At the very least, I know it wasn't Simon Blackwell. I don't know enough to identify the true culprit, but it's clear what that person is. To put it simply, a spy. The true culprit is a spy. It's going to be hard to convince anyone of that when I barely believe it myself. But I don't have a choice if I want to save Athena and Blackwell and expose the spy.
Now then, Chief Prosecutor Edgeworth.
No need for the Chief Prosecutor bit, Your Honor. I am here as a simple prosecutor.
Very well. Your opening statement, please, Prosecutor Edgeworth. Although I've been known of late to give an impressive opening statement myself, if you'd like me to take over, by any chance, I'm pretty good at...
In all the trials I've ever seen, only the prosecution gives an opening statement.
Of course. You're right, I was just joking, just having a little fun. I definitely am not a baby child, easily tricked by the slightest of suggestions. Thank you.
So he wasn't doing them just out of fear. Interesting. Let's start with a brief overview of the UR1 incident. The incident occurred at the Cosmos Space Center 7 years ago on October 7th. The victim, psychologist Metis Sykes, was killed in the robotics lab on the 4th floor. Athena's mother. Simon Blackwell, a young prosecutor at the time, was found guilty of the crime. There were two deciding factors that led to his guilty verdict. One, Blackwell was the only person in the corridor at the lab at the time of the murder. And two, this photo, which captured the moment of the crime.
Very incriminating evidence indeed.
That guy doesn't have half of his hair white. Did he just not have that? Did that happen later?
It would appear that the only conclusion is that Prosecutor Blackwell did indeed.
Hold it!
Are you kidding me? I'm not accepting any conclusion of the kind. This opening statement is over. Now, hurry up and call the witness.
Excuse me, Miss Blackwell, but we must follow proper procedure for these things, you know.
Or perhaps we should heed her wishes, Your Honor. She is the trial's sponsor, after all. Besides, the courtroom is chilly, and sitting for too long can't be good for your back.
Oh, you're very kind, such as concern for the welfare of the elderly.
As skilled as ever at playing the court puppeteer, I see. The prosecution calls its first witness. A witness who decided to bring forth new testimony after 7 long years. New testimony? And just who is this witness, anyway? Who is it, indeed? Is it gonna be... what? Fulbright?
Bobby Fulbright's the name. In justice we trust.
What are you doing here?
I'm just here to speak for the hostage taker, Miss Ara Blackwell. She says she's too busy, with confining and threatening the hostages and all.
That doesn't seem to stop her from constantly chiming in through Clonko.
I'm nothing more than an observer in this. Do your best. I'm watching you.
Believing her brother innocent, Miss Blackwell has been conducting her own investigation. And though her current actions are hardly lawful, I think we can at least hear her theory.
I have here Miss Blackwell's notes on the investigation she conducted. And I'll be giving testimony based on these notes. Here I go. Should I try to sound like Ara? Alright, okay, alright. I can be that. I can do that. She's got kind of a thing. Alright. Simon isn't the murderer. He was trying to cover for someone. Someone else was at the scene at the time they say Simon committed the murder. I mean, if he really was out to steal that moon rock, then why the rolling case? Because he was using it to hide someone inside. That's why. And the only person small enough to fit inside that case was Athena Sykes.
That's really, like, speculative.
And that's Miss Blackwell's theory. It totally goes in the face of the official ruling, huh? About the case she mentions, there were other rolling cases like that one in the lab. But they're not for traveling. They're apparently for moving parts and equipment.
I vaguely remember seeing 3 cases, all different sizes.
At the last trial, they thought that Prosecutor Blackwell used the case to steal the rock. And they had a perfectly good reason to think that, too. You see, there's a security camera in the corridor that leads to the robotics lab. And that camera captured footage of Blackwell leaving the scene with this case.
Yeah, he doesn't have half of his hair is entirely black there. Maybe that happened later because he doesn't have his ponytail either. I can see why that footage helped to bring his trial to a quick end. It's very convincing, that's for sure. 7-year-old video updated in the court record. I mean, 7 years is long enough to go gray, depending on how old you are at the beginning. But yeah,
that case, by the way, was later discovered outside on the Space Center grounds.
Speaking of after the incident, where was the defendant, Athena Sykes, found? She was found on the 5th floor of the Space Center in the Sykes family residence. Prosecutor Blackwell most likely brought her there after the incident. In addition, it's unknown where Miss Sykes was at the estimated time of death.
Miss Sykes was too confused by the shock of her mother's death to give proper testimony, and there was no witness or evidence to tell us where she might have been.
So what you're saying is Miss Sykes didn't have an alibi. That is what the evidence is saying, yes.
I understand the reasoning behind the theory, but I'm far from convinced. The victim is the accused's mother. Are you actually claiming an 11-year-old girl?
Of course, the girl had a very strong motive.
Dr. Sykes is a psychologist who wrote many papers about speech and emotions. You're aware of Athena Sykes' special ability, aren't you, Your Honor?
Are you referring to that therapy thing? Yes, she's done it quite a few times in court. She has her beep boop, and she presses it, and then she acts all smarmy.
The ability to read emotions from speech and the subject of her mother's research.
Well, as long as it benefits society, I don't see any particular problem researching it.
I don't like where this is heading. Not one bit. Dr. Sykes was so intent on her research, she forced her daughter to undergo experiments.
Prosecutor Edgeworth, are you seriously suggesting?
I've done my best to be delicate, but even you can't deny it to be true, Mr. Wright. No longer able to withstand the anguish of the experiments, Miss Sykes felt her only choice was to kill her own mother. What? We didn't clean up this place at all, did we? Wow.
Order in the court! What a tragic story. I hardly want to believe it myself. But we must proceed. Mr. Wright, if you could, Detective Fulbright, please refer to the notes.
Alright. Let's see what he has to say about Aura's testimony.
Simon isn't the murderer. He was trying to cover for someone.
Hold it!
So, Prosecutor Blackwell willingly accepted a death sentence to protect someone else?
Yes, that is precisely what Miss Blackwell appears to believe.
And that is why I believe as well. Prosecutor Blackwell is no murderer, Mr. Wright. But Athena Sykes certainly didn't kill anyone either, Mr. Edgeworth. So it appears neither of us can afford to go easy on the other. Fine. I expected no less.
Ooh, I remember this tense atmosphere. It's so invigorating. I feel perhaps slightly too invigorated.
I'm only reading notes here. But yeah, I feel extra invigorated too, so let's keep going. Feeling great. Can we go skiing after this? Maybe during this? Someone else was at the scene at the time. They say Simon committed the murder.
Hold it!
But that's just speculation.
Objection!
No, Miss Blackwell has proper grounds for her claim.
Objection!
Then why didn't you say so in the first place?
Objection!
You're the one who screamed, "Hold it!" and cut me off. Fine, so maybe I jumped the gun by a teeny weeny bit.
Now I know what they mean when they say close enough to argue. Moving on. I mean, if he really was out to steal that moon rock, then why the rolling case?
Hold it!
This rolling case, I suppose you mean the one that existed in the photo with Prosecutor Blackwell in it, but was absent when the crime scene photos were taken? Yes, that's the one. And Miss Blackwell has drawn a conclusion from these two photos.
She has? And what is that conclusion?
You're the one with her notes.
Oh, right. Of course. Reading them now. So why the rolling case? Because he was using it to hide someone inside. That's why.
Hold it!
And how do you propose he hid a person inside one of those cases? Have you forgotten that we saw just such a thing only the other day? At your own daughter's magic show. She fit a grown person into a small box. You don't know that's how that worked? That she could have done that any number of ways. Oh yeah! Way to ruin the memory of a good day.
A magic show? Oh, I wish you would have thought to invite me. Aren't we best friends, Phoenix? Edgeworth?
Actually, I would have liked to go too. Aren't we best friends? Right, Edgeworth?
My apologies. I'll invite you both next time. I promise. I'm not going to. So, wait a minute. What were we talking about again? Where are we?
Prosecutor Blackwell was using the case to hide someone.
Okay, we're not getting a lot of new information here. The only person small enough to fit inside that case was Athena Sykes. The only person? The only person? I mean, I know she was 11, but come on. But that's nothing more than conjecture, and it's hardly the only possibility.
In that case, what do you think Prosecutor Blackwell had in that case?
That's also conjecture. I think it was the moon rock.
Objection!
There were 3 cases at the scene, but Prosecutor Blackwell used the largest one. The moon rock was egg-shaped and only about 8 inches in diameter. It wouldn't have made any sense to use the largest case there just to move that rock.
Objection!
Be that as it may, it doesn't prove Miss Sykes was inside. Then let me ask you this. Can you come up with a better theory of what was in the case?
Well, Mr. Wright, can you?
Yikes. Give a guy some time to think. Let's see. Alright. Should I try to bluff my way through what could have been in that case? I'm gonna say bluff it. I'm gonna say we're gonna bluff it. I know exactly what Prosecutor Blackwell carried from the scene. I just have to find something else that was missing, right? No sweat.
Oh, I'd be very interested in hearing your theory. If it's true, that is.
This is a crime scene photo taken after Prosecutor Blackwell left, correct? All we have to do is compare this with this photo of Prosecutor Blackwell to see what's missing. If he took something with him, then it should be in one of these photos. Lady Luck, don't fail me now.
All right then, Mr. Wright. Let us hear your theory. What did Prosecutor Blackwell take from the scene of the murder?
All right, court record. Let's look at these things. Let's stare at them a little bit. We have the photo of the crime and the 7-year-old photos. So what's in here that isn't in the other one? There's a jacket on the floor. Oh wait, no wait, but that's stuff that's in the top photo that's not stuff that's in here that's not in here. We've got the desk. It looks like whatever this robotic arm is gone, actually, right? Because we've got the drill bits. That looks like the biggest thing that's missing, right? I feel like this thing is what's gone, right? It's really prominent in the photo. Please notice that there is a robot part on the top of the cart in this photo. However, in this photo, taken after the crime, the robot part is gone. In other words, this part is something that was taken from the scene of the crime.
You do appear to be right. I don't see it in the second picture.
But it's just a piece of junk. How important could it be? I don't know. How important are you, Fulbright? Is it really just an insignificant robot part? Speaking of which...
What are you looking at? I'm gonna start charging for each glance per eyeball.
Alright, I'll do it like this. Stingy, stingy. What happened to the age of free previews? Ooh. Your Honor, about this robot part. Doesn't it look like it could be an arm from that robot there?
Well, now that you mention it, it does, doesn't it? But the case is still too big to be practical for just the moon rock and a robot arm.
But was it really just the one arm that was in there, or was it the entire robot? If it wasn't Athena in the case, then maybe. I believe there was another robot at the scene that looks like, just like the one here. Your Honor, if it's the defense's assertion that it was this other robot that was in the case...
What?
Objection!
We can't be certain that part belonged to a robot. Yes, it looks like the arm of the one before us, but it could be something else entirely. Oh, so now you don't like conjecture? Besides, it's wrapped entirely in bandaging, making it difficult to verify what it is. Nope, we know why it's covered in bandaging, because Athena did it. I know for a fact that it is a robot arm. I can even tell which robot it belonged to just by looking at it. With this information, we can investigate whether it was there at the time or not.
But Mr. Wright, I thought you were more of the technologically illiterate type. I kept asking you to come over to reprogram my VCR, and you kept saying you couldn't. Or did you have another reason for not wanting to come by? When did you become such an expert? I feel somehow abandoned.
Not to worry, Your Honor. I still know next to nothing about machines. But I know this piece of evidence proves which part the arm belonged to, and it's the photo of everybody. I believe it's this. Yes, because he is wearing it there. He's been covered in bandages. The robot in this picture is named Ponko.
Uncle.
But take a look at Ponko's arm. It was Miss Sykes who bandaged it up like that. Up like that.
She must have thought that machines heal in the same way that people do. What an adorable, naive mistake. It reminds me of my own grandchild.
The robot arm at the crime scene had the same bandaging wrapped around it. In other words, this robot arm could belong to none other than Ponko.
Order in the court. Order, I say. Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you have to say to this?
I can see that the robot is about the same size as a child, but it cannot grab its knees and curl itself into a ball. Even if it was the largest of the cases, the robot couldn't have possibly fit in there unless someone had torn it apart, as we've seen its arm taken away.
The case does come up to about mid-thigh on Prosecutor Blackwell. I see your point. The robot is much taller than that.
They've got me there. So then did Prosecutor Blackwell make Ponko fit into the case? Dismantling, compacting. I think dismantling. I say dismantling. Of course Ponko would fit. All Prosecutor Blackwell had to do was dismantle her. Once taken apart, the robot could have easily fit inside that rolling case. It appears to be a robot assembly device. Disassemble anything in a flash. Press and push the dismantle button. That sounds pretty neat. Can I push it, Mr. Nick?
It sounds rather violent, but Mr. Wright does have a point there.
Objection!
Except that there was a body on the table where robots are dismantled and assembled. There would have been no room to take the robot apart.
Objection!
But what if it wasn't done on the table? What if the katana was used instead?
You mean the sword?
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Blackwell, I'd like your opinion as a woman of science. Isn't it true that the katana could have been used to take the robot apart?
I suppose so. The joints aren't made of a very tough material. A blade could slice through them.
Thank you for your expert opinion, Miss Blackwell. Thanks to you, we now know that the existence of the severed arm in this photo proves that Ponko was taken apart. In addition, since the rest of Ponko was not found at the scene, we can conclude that the true meaning of this photo is very different from the original interpretation.
You can't mean...
That's exactly what I mean. This photo does not capture the moment of the murder. It is instead a picture of the moment after the robot was sliced apart. The blood you see where the arm was cut off was transferred there by the bloody katana. Most likely, the rest of Ponko is scattered around Prosecutor Blackwell's feet.
Not hearing this.
Therefore, what was transported inside that case was not the defendant, but a robot. Miss Sykes never was at the scene at the time of murder.
My head, my body.
Order in the court.
It's true that Ponko was found in pieces after the murder. And I'll admit, I repaired her myself afterwards.
I got new information. Yes, I'm finally making some progress. Hopefully I've gotten at least one step closer to proving both Athena and Prosecutor Blackwell innocent.
Objection!
Well played, Mr. Wright. You've made your point abundantly clear. I can see that it wasn't the defendant inside the rolling case, but the robot. All right. What's going on here? It's never good when he plays things like this straight.
Does the prosecution withdraw its claim the defendant was carried from the scene?
No, Your Honor. My claim hasn't changed.
Objection!
But Ponko and Miss Sykes couldn't have both been inside that case.
Objection!
The notion that the case was used to carry Miss Sykes was Miss Blackwell's theory. I've been of a different opinion from the outset. Now I finally have the opportunity to voice my theory. Thanks to the defense. Edgeworth! Edgeworth! He's been one step ahead of me this whole time.